Pat,
Okay,
I'm
got it.
really excited to talk to you today for She Can. You do an enormous amount, and you're an award-winning climatarian, an author, a speaker. Tell us in your own words what you do.
Well, thank you, first of all, so much for having me. I really appreciate that, obviously, the opportunity. So, Stephanie, my background is on corporate, right? I spent almost 20 years working for different telecoms businesses around the world. I'm originally from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. And a long time ago, more than I would like to admit, I moved to the Caribbean, to the island of Jamaica, to work for an Irish telecommunications business. And that's when life, I guess, began to change. So I spent a bit of time in Jamaica, moved to Honduras, moved to Panama, always working with telecoms, a multitude of roles. Got to see a bit of the world out there and, a few sites that I wasn't necessarily being exposed to when I lived back in Rio. And I eventually moved to Dublin here in Ireland, right? I married an Irishman and we decided to, build our life here. Again, joined another telecommunications business after moving here. From there, I went into online gambling. So working for a big group called Flutter Entertainment, spent a good deal of time there. And, one of my big roles there was looking after the customer experience teams for the whole group, so retail and online. And I really enjoyed that. That was a fabulous experience, not necessarily because of online gambling, but mostly because of the whole side of trying to understand what customers want and need, and what is a good experience from a customer's perspective. So that was very interesting. Found myself pregnant of my second child back in 2017. And as someone who was living lightly, I suppose, and trying to live in a more mindful, conscious way, I had always had a very fragmented experience for sustainable living goods here in Ireland. You can think of like a few farmer markets. You will think about, little shops here and there, more Amazon orders that I would like to admit, for someone who was trying to live sustainably, right? So I said, you know what, if I have this problem and I found a gap in here, I suppose other people, and I knew of others who were trying to live in the same, I suppose, wavelength. And I said, look, I'm going to try and set up a one-stop shop for sustainable living goods. Try to focus on local products as much as possible. Obviously, Ireland is only a small island and not much is manufactured here. If you think of stainless steel or even like, textiles, very little is manufactured here. It's very high cost. So I said, look, I'm going to try my best. Started 5 days before the baby was born, was literally launched the business, launched the baby. They are my twins. And the baby was born in the middle of cardboard boxes and post office labels and whatnot. So we're going to be 5 years old, both baby and business, in May this year. And, it's half a decade. I can't even believe myself that I've been doing this for half a decade. When you put it like that, it's a big deal for me anyways. It was a dramatic life, I suppose, change. Yeah. In the sense of you're coming from a very comfortable role, very well paid, all the perks, traveling the world, seeing different things, and having that corporate structure and then moving into these, taking this massive leap of faith that is entrepreneurship, right? Into something that at the time, and it's only 5 years ago, but it's already 5 years ago, sustainability wasn't necessarily very sexy. It was still very much niche, very much, I don't think this is for me, where people thought sustainability was all about, dirty oceans and skinny animals suffering and polar, the Arctics and all of that. They were not associating sustainability with education, health, gender equality, reduced inequalities and all of the sustainable development goals. People are not looking from that perspective. So again, a very niche, I suppose, industry. but it's probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I wanted Reusi to be a one-stop shop for sustainable living goods. I didn't want it to be just a one-stop shop for sustainable living goods. I wanted to be an educational hub. So I myself, after a few months of having the baby and the business, I was like, look, I need to go back to school and learn about these, seek formal education. Yeah. So I want to be able to talk about it and work with people. I want to be able to marry my corporate life with this new world called sustainability, right? And how can I bring them together and I suppose offer that to businesses and individuals as well? And that's what I did. So I've been working with several businesses, big businesses, small businesses, on anything from workshops and lunch and learn sessions all the way to working on their ESG action plan. So environment, social, and governance, Irish action plans, creating their green teams, talking to them about how do we communicate the good stuff that's happening within their businesses, and not trying to cross that fine line between, communicating progress and greenwashing. So all of that's coming together now under one roof, which is me. I have the retail side of the business very much on autopilot. We're very lucky. We partner with this incredible Irish retailer group called Kilkenny Design. Is a quintessential Irish brand spread all over Ireland. So they are bricks and mortar and they are online as well. So we have partnered with them and we are in 8 of their 15 plus shops. We have concessions. So it's all very autopilot, I suppose, from a retail point of view. And we're constantly bringing new suppliers in. We have a very, I suppose, specific, we call it the integrity questionnaire, where it's a process basically to try and approve those guys that we work with. We're not going to work with anybody just because they're saying, oh, I'm sustainable. And then obviously that allows me to have more time for the corporate consultations and the workshops and the whatnot. So I do that. I write for the Irish Tatler, which is basically the UK Tatler, but the Irish version. I have a column called Consciously Craving. And, we're not craving things necessarily. We're craving a new mindset, a big mindset shift. So that's what we talk about. And I also write for a parenting magazine called Mums and Tots here in Ireland. I work with different media channels from time to time, it could be in print or digital, and I'm running a few events, I'm attending events, doing talks and whatnot. So it's busy, but it's fantastic because, it shows that people are interested, I guess, isn't it?
Amazing. I love all your journey, Pat. I mean, Reusi is your platform, and it's sort of a learning platform, educational platform for environmental living and creating awareness, right? Um,
That's it.
you've launched it in a really busy time for you. What are your learnings 5 years later, Pat? I'm interested.
Well, I would safely say, accept all the help that you're offered. I think that to me was a big deal, as someone who was always very independent. Um, you, I definitely forgot that I no longer had a big team working with me as, my previous life, corporate life. Suddenly I found myself by myself going from, packing orders to running marketing campaigns, looking at my Google Analytics, trying to figure out what's next, and dealing with an accountant, and all of those things that you're like, suddenly you become this one woman band. So, and it took time for me just to accept help. I was like, oh no, I don't want to create trouble. It's fine. Thank you, but no thanks. I will definitely be in touch if I need. So the minute I hired people to help me, there was like relief. I was able to work on the business, not in the business, which was a big deal, and it allowed me to have more ideas and, create more collaboration and all the good stuff that happens when you have time to work on the business, right? So I think that's a big one. Obviously, like, trying different things. I would be very up for testing, initiatives. I think because we are only a small business, we're not like Amazon. There's no red tape. I will make the call at the end of the day if we have budget, if we have time or whatever it is, if it makes sense, if it's relevant. So I think, the whole thing of like fail fast, learn fast. Yeah, I think that's good too. You need to test. Certain things will work. Excellent. Certain things will cost you money and time, and they will probably not come out as, as planned, but that's okay too. You've learned, moved on. So it's never, I would say, at times, and again, as a business owner, I'm sure you can relate, like you feel you are very hard on yourself. So I've learned that like, it's okay. I don't have anybody giving out to me up there. It's fine. It's okay. Just learn and don't do it again. So I think it took me a few goes to learn that. And I was like, how come I missed this? Or like, how come I didn't see this coming? But the reality is it's okay. We're not saving lives at the end of the day, Yeah.
Amazing, Pat. Pat, I'm wondering, what is your main motivator? I mean, you obviously do something that the world really needs and needs a lot more of. What what
Yeah.
what motivates you the most?
Yeah. So when I started, I didn't have kids. I have two boys right now, but and that's it really. But when I started, I had no kids. My motivation, well, when I started, I mean, my mindset shift, right? My living, my I suppose my lifestyle changes. My motivation was literally just like to know that I was doing the best I possibly could, and that Stephanie, I see life as a bullet train. It's very fast, and we are only passengers. Our station, we will arrive to our station, and we have to leave the world or the train, right? So I want that journey of mine in this bullet train called life. And I know that's a bit like cheesy, but it's just an analogy that I always make, because I want this journey to be, harmless. So that was my initial, I suppose, drive, was like, I am a guest here. And as any other guest, I want to leave the place in good state for whoever comes after me, right? Now, then I had kids. And, if you go deep down into the sustainability world, you will find people thinking, my God, you're a sinner. You are having kids. Can't you see what's going on out there? But it was a dream of ours. I wanted to have kids. And that then added an extra layer of responsibility. I was like, okay, I'm having kids. Is it a good idea? Is it not? It's a very personal choice. Who am I to judge? I had to. But now I have an extra layer, an extra motivation to keep going for for themselves, their generation pals, and everybody coming after them. Even we have a next. I always say there is a quote, and I forgot the name of the gentleman who said, but it's basically like, when we are old and wrinkly, someone will ask us, what did you do once you knew? And I want to be able to answer, so that is a big motivation, is a big deal.
Oh, thank you for putting it so beautifully, Pat. I love what you just said. Yes, and
And
Pat, what would you say is your superpower? What makes you so good at what you do? And you do so many different things in a way.
oh, Stephanie, that's a hard one, because we don't necessarily think of ourselves like that, right? I am very outspoken. I am very sociable. I think when it comes to sustainability, the Sustainable Development Goal number 17 is partnerships, right, to achieve the goals. And we are like, I strongly believe that, I'm not in this to become, a millionaire, be a part of one of those rich lists. Definitely not. I can safely say that. But I'm in this for like, doing better, and I suppose creating a better world, as little as, as little as my I suppose help will be. I just want to be able to help. And I think for you to be able to do that well, you need to collaborate. Yeah. So I think I'm good at that sort of thing, collaboration and teamwork, and, trying to bring people together for a greater good. I think that would be a superpower. Yeah. I don't know. And I would say I'm very self-motivated. I won't be, you won't see me crying around because something went wrong. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Let's silver linings. Let's try and figure it out. What's next? I won't give up easily. Some would say it's an annoying trait, but I like to think it's a perseverance. There you go.
I like that. It really deeply resonates with me. Pat, what
Yeah.
top tips would you give to other women? Maybe give us some tips. For example, what can every household do? The top three things every household can do to make a change and to be a bit more conscious of the way we live, of polluting the planet less.
Yeah. So I think it all starts, Stephanie, and I always say that it starts with your mindset, right? If you had met me 20 years ago, you would probably not recognize me and, my behavior. And I say that very openly because we're not born like this. Yeah. We are born being told that we need more, that we will only going to be happy if we look good. And what does that mean? Having the latest trends and, looks and all of that, going on several holidays a year. And, that's happiness. But happiness, we know this is not happiness, right? They are happy moments, but it's not happiness, right? So I think the first thing is trying to figure it out. What are your values? Yeah. Nobody wants a planet that's burning down. Nobody wants people starving. Nobody wants to buy from, a business that exploits children or, like that sort of thing. So what are your values? And then question yourself, do your actions align with your values? Is there a gap in there? And if there is a gap in there, what is this? Right? It could be certainly, cost. Look, the stuff I want, yeah, I would love to dress in Stella McCartney, for example, but I can't afford. So Primark it is. And you know what? Like, it's not about the product, it's about the lifestyle. Because I would say some people say to me, oh, we should just like your big Primarks, your H&Ms, and all those big group Boohoo, whatever they're called, like all these online fast fashion brands, they should just end. And I was like, yeah, but some people need them. The reality is, the group that is supporting that fast fashion industry, for example, because it's such a common thing for us, right, these days, it's middle class. That model is not sustained by poor people, right? So it's you and I who are falling for the buy more, buy more, buy more. It's okay. Oh, by the way, we have recycled denim. We have organic cotton now. Oh, wow. Slow clap. That's the easy part. The bad thing there is that overproduction, overconsumption, again, is one of the SDGs, that is the problem. So why are we buying from those guys? Is that because we need and that's all we can afford? And who are we to judge that, right? That's totally fine. We get it. But like, what they are doing is not necessarily the right thing from a mindset point of view, because they're not helping you and I, right? It is cheaper and I'm going to go there because that's what I can afford. That's fine. But if you go there every weekend to buy something different for a night out, that's just not right. So what are your values? What are your actions? And do they match? And they don't have to match 100% all the time, because it's life. Society is not set up for that, right? It's a consumerism, it's capitalism, it's all of that. We're not set up for, perfect alignment between values and actions, but as much as possible. So what can you do better? A good way for you to understand that is like, have a look around at your bathroom, your kitchen, do a little audit. Where is the waste coming from? If you say your kitchen, is it food waste? A deeply unethical issue. Can you figure it out? Why is that happening? Is that leftovers or even uncooked food that you didn't have time to process on that week? You got lazy, you went out for dinner, whatever that is, you know. So what is it that is generating that food waste? Audit that. Next week, try and do better. I always joke, instead of being team trolley, why not being team basket? Because you're shopping less but more often. Again, convenience, time pressure, all of those things are against us. Yeah. We're in a rush. We're running home to cook dinner for the family, or we're busy at work. We're just grabbing a sandwich on the go, and that's completely wrapped in plastic, for example. I get it. But can you identify those moments, those pitfalls, right? And figure out, what can I do better here? So it's literally almost like auditing your life, right? What can I do better? And instead of giving you like, oh, buy a shampoo bar versus a shampoo bottle, or a soap bar versus the liquid gel, I would say to you, first of all, take a step back and understand what is that rubbish inside your bin today. Yeah. Those shows where people are trying to lose weight and they put all the food someone ate in a week on a table. Yeah. Dr. Gillian, I don't remember her surname, used to run a show like that. Obviously, that's a different story, but it's almost like that. If you were to put all your waste on a table, on your kitchen table, what would that look like? Where would that be coming from? Is it produce that you could have bought package free, just loose vegetables and fruits? Or is it more like processed food that, by the way, is not great for us? So can you replace with something else that maybe is not as heavily packaged? So that's what we're talking about, I guess.
That's amazing, Pat. I absolutely love that. Thank you for all these incredible um yeah, points of things we can do better in our lives. And I think the thing that we always underestimate is that as consumers, we hold an enormous amount of power. And every
Our wallet.
time we use our pounds, we make a decision about the world and us. And so to be more mindful about it. Pat, what would you say are your plans and dreams for your future? Where are you heading? Where is Reusi heading? What is in store for you?
Okay, so my plans for the future, I would love, and that is gonna sound crazy, but I would love for big retail chains to put me out of a job when it comes to reusing, because that would have meant that all of the options out there are sustainable and there's no need for a niche shop like mine. Okay, so that is a long life dream. And my husband always says to me, "Are you mad?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. These would be the best case scenario." Because that means retailers out there copped on and they're like, okay, we need to stop buying bad, poorly, not necessarily ethical stuff and just offer better options, because that makes our lives as consumers much easier. You don't have to be like, which one is the best? Which one has less toxins for my skin, for my children, for whatever, my pet, whatever it is. So that's my long-term dream. I don't know if it's happening soon, but I would like to see that happening. And I always make an analogy with health stores. You can find vitamins everywhere you go now, protein shakes and that sort of stuff. You don't have to go to a niche shop. You can go to a supermarket and that stuff will be there, right? Or pharmacy. So that's one. For my own self, I love writing. So I hope I'll continue to write for different media vehicles. I love that. Since young, very young, a little girl, I always enjoyed writing very much. I would love to run a few events, about like different life skills and people coming in together to talk about how to do better for oneself, for planet and all of that. I think that would be amazing. And obviously, I want to continue to work with businesses of all kinds, small, big, in trying to drive their sustainability agenda forward.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Pat. That's
You're
very
welcome.
inspirational.
Thank you. Thanks so much.